I was about to kill the person who set up this blind date. Then she walked in, ordered my most expensive whiskey, looked me dead in the eye and said, "So, you're the boss who thinks I'm too loud in meetings?" That's when I knew I was absolutely screwed. My mom bet me this story wouldn't hit 10,000 views or get 1,000 subscribers. She said nobody wants to hear about a Korean mafia boss falling for his black employee on a blind date gone wrong. But here's the thing. This isn't just another romance. This is about the night everything I thought I knew about control, power, and love got completely destroyed by a woman in a red dress who had absolutely zero interest in impressing me. So here's the deal. If you want to see how a woman with zero filter brought a mafia empire to its knees, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a like if you think my mom's wrong. Because by the end of this story, you'll understand why I'd burn down everything I built just to hear her laugh one more time. Let's prove her wrong together. Now, let me tell you how it all started. Min-jun Kim didn't do blind dates. He also didn't do feelings, second chances, or anything that couldn't be solved with money, influence, or a well-placed threat. At 32, he ran the most successful import-export business in Seoul, which was code for controlling half the city's underground operations while wearing Tom Ford suits and drinking whiskey that cost more than most people's rent. So when his grandmother, the only person alive who could still make him sweat, cornered him at his cousin's wedding with that look, he knew he was in trouble. "Min-juna," she'd said, her tiny frame somehow taking up the entire room. "You're going on a blind date." "Halmione, I'm busy." "You're 32 and married to your work. This is not negotiable." And that's how Min-jun found himself on a Friday night, sitting in a private room at Moonlight, the upscale restaurant he technically owned but rarely visited, waiting for some woman his grandmother had handpicked. He'd already planned his exit strategy, 15 minutes of polite conversation, a fake emergency call from his second-in-command, and freedom. He checked his Patek Philippe. 7:03 p.m. She was late. Strike one. The door opened at 7:07, and Min-jun prepared his polite but cold expression. Then he looked up. The woman who walked in was not what he expected. She was black, which his grandmother had conveniently failed to mention, with natural coily hair pulled into a high puff, warm brown skin that seemed to glow under the soft lighting, and curves that made his expensive suit feel suddenly too tight. She wore a red wrap dress that should have been illegal and heels that brought her almost to his eye level. But it was her face that got him. Full lips curved in amusement, brown eyes sparkling with something that looked suspiciously like mischief, and an expression that said she found this entire situation hilarious. "You must be Min-jun," she said in perfect Korean, her accent melodic and completely unfazed by his silent staring. She slid into the seat across from him without waiting for an invitation. "I'm Amara. Nice to finally meet the boss who apparently thinks I'm too enthusiastic in morning meetings." Min-jun's brain short-circuited. "What? Oh, you didn't know?" Amara's smile widened as she picked up the wine menu, completely comfortable. "I'm your employee. Marketing Department, Southeast Asian Expansion Division. Been working for your company for 6 months. Your grandmother is apparently friends with my aunt, and they thought this would be, what did she call it? Kismet. This had to be a joke." Min-jun ran through his mental database. Marketing. Southeast Asian Expansion. 6 months. Then it clicked. The woman who'd pitched the aggressive Thailand expansion strategy that his stuffy board had initially rejected. The one who'd sent him a 20-page report explaining exactly why they were wrong, complete with market analysis and projected revenue that had been annoyingly accurate. The one he'd approved despite his CFO's protests. The one whose laugh he sometimes heard echoing from the marketing floor when he walked by. "You're Amara Williams," he said slowly. "Guilty." She ordered his most expensive whiskey without looking at the price, then turned those devastating eyes back to him. "So here's what I'm thinking. Your grandmother ambushed you. My aunt ambushed me. We're both clearly here against our better judgment. But," she leaned forward conspiratorially, "this whiskey is exceptional, and I haven't had a decent meal all week because your department has me working on the Malaysia proposal. So how about we make a deal?" Min-jun should have been annoyed. He should have been offended that an employee was being this casual with him. He definitely should not have been intrigued. What kind of deal? We have dinner. We tell our meddling relatives we gave it a shot. We never speak of this again. I go back to avoiding eye contact with you in the hallway, you go back to leaving passive-aggressive notes on my expansion proposals, and everyone's happy. I don't leave passive-aggressive notes. Good work, but consider being less ambitious next time, is literally passive aggression in a handwritten note, boss. Min-jun felt something unfamiliar, the urge to smile. He suppressed it. That was constructive feedback. That was you being scared I'm better at this than your entire executive team. She was right. He had been scared. This woman had walked into his company and within 6 months had generated more innovative ideas than his overpaid executives had in years. She was brilliant, bold, and apparently had zero interest in kissing his ass. It was the most attractive thing he'd ever encountered. One dinner, he heard himself say. Then we forget this happened. Perfect. Amara raised her whiskey glass. To mutual survival of family interference. Min-jun raised his own glass, their fingers brushing as they toasted. The contact sent electricity straight through him. He was in so much trouble. 2 hours later, Min-jun had forgotten about his exit strategy. Amara had him laughing, actually laughing, at her story about accidentally insulting a client in Thai because she'd mixed up the word for beautiful with expensive. She'd shared her vision for the company's expansion with such passion that he found himself taking mental notes. She'd called him out on his intimidation tactics, the silent stare thing. Doesn't work on me, I have 3 older brothers. And somehow made him feel more alive than he had in years. When his phone buzzed with an actual emergency, a shipment issue at the port, he ignored it for the first time in his career. You're not going to get that? Amara asked, noticing. It can wait. The Min-jun Kim, putting something before work? I'm shocked. You're more interesting than work. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Amara's eyes widened slightly, then that playful smile returned. Careful, boss. That almost sounded like you're enjoying this blind date. Maybe I am. Well, that's inconvenient. Why? Amara stood, gathering her purse. Because I am too. And I have a strict rule about not dating my boss. Especially ones with, she gestured vaguely at him, whatever dangerous business you're actually running when you're not pretending to care about quarterly reports. She knew. Of course she knew. Amara. Thanks for dinner, Min-jun. She headed for the door, then paused and looked back. Oh, and that Malaysia proposal? I'm presenting it to the board next week. Try not to be too obviously biased when you vote yes. Then she was gone, leaving Min-jun sitting alone with an empty whiskey glass and the strangest feeling in his chest. His phone buzzed again. This time it was his grandmother. How was the date? Min-jun stared at the message, then at the door Amara had just walked through. He was absolutely screwed. And for the first time in his carefully controlled life, he didn't mind at all. Monday morning hit Min-jun like divine punishment for enjoying himself too much. He walked into his office to find his second-in-command, Jae-sung, waiting with the expression of someone about to deliver terrible news. What? The Thailand distributor pulled out. Says he's going with the Busan crew instead. Min-jun's good mood evaporated. The Thailand connection was crucial. It was the legitimate front for their less-than-legitimate operations. Losing it meant losing millions and looking weak to every rival organization in Asia. Set up a meeting. Today. Already did. 2 p.m. He wants to meet at Moonlight. Of course he did. Everyone wanted to meet at Min-jun's restaurant because it sent a message. I'm so confident, I'll walk into your territory and tell you no to your face. Min-jun spent the morning strategizing, which is why he didn't notice the commotion in the hallway until his assistant knocked urgently. Sir, there's a situation in the conference room. The situation was Amara, standing at the head of the table in a sharp navy suit, presenting to his entire executive board like she owned the place. Her Malaysia proposal was displayed on the screen behind her, and she was systematically destroying every objection his CFO raised. The initial investment seems high, the CFO was saying, and the timeline aggressive. The initial investment pays for itself in 8 months, Amara cut in smoothly. I've already secured 3 local partners, negotiated warehouse space at 20% below market rate, and identified the exact regulatory loopholes we need. The timeline isn't aggressive, it's realistic. Your previous timelines failed because you were being too cautious in a market that rewards boldness. Min-jun leaned against the doorway, transfixed. And if it fails? His COO challenged. Amara smiled. Then I'll personally refund my salary for the project duration. But it won't fail. I don't do failure. The room fell silent. Then his chief strategy officer, a man who'd worked for Min-jun for a decade and rarely showed emotion, started clapping. I vote yes, he said simply. The vote was unanimous. Amara caught Min-jun's eye as she gathered her materials, and that playful smile returned. She'd just conquered his executive team in under an hour, and she knew it. Boss, she said sweetly as she passed him in the doorway. Try not to look so proud. It's unprofessional. She was gone before he could respond, leaving him with a room full of executives who were now staring at him with knowing expressions. Not a word, Min-jun warned. Jae-sung grinned. Didn't say anything, boss. The Thailand meeting went exactly as badly as Min-jun expected. Park Dae-young was old-school Mafia, all ego and territorial posturing. He sat across from Min-jun at moonlight, making a show of ordering the cheapest item on the menu just to be insulting. Your territory is slipping, Min-jun Dae-young said, using the familiar form without permission. Maybe it's time to let younger, hungrier organizations take over. Translation: I smell weakness and I'm moving in. Min-jun kept his expression neutral. The reports of my decline are greatly exaggerated. Are they? Your shipments are late. Your European connections are restless. Your focus is elsewhere. There was an implication there that made Min-jun's jaw tight. Had someone been talking? Watching? Before he could respond, the private room door opened. Amara walked in. She was dressed casually, jeans and a blazer, and carrying a tablet. She looked between Min-jun and Dae-young with false surprise. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought this was the quarterly review meeting. She bowed politely to Dae-young. I'm Amara Williams, Southeast Asian Expansion. You must be Mr. Park? I've heard so much about your distribution network in Thailand. Dae-young's expression shifted from annoyed to interested. You're the one with the Malaysia proposal. You've heard of it? Everyone's heard of it. Bold move for a... He paused, foreign employee. The subtle racism hung in the air. Min-jun started to stand, but Amara spoke first. Well, bold is kind of my thing. She set her tablet down. Actually, since you're here, would you mind if I asked you a few questions about the Thailand market? I'm researching expansion there, and your insight would be invaluable. What was she doing? Dae-young preened. Of course. What do you want to know? For the next 20 minutes, Min-jun watched in amazement as Amara systematically extracted information from Dae-young while making him feel like the smartest person in the room. She asked about distribution channels, local partnerships, regulatory challenges, all while subtly highlighting everything Min-jun's organization did better. By the time she remembered her meeting and excused herself, Dae-young was reconsidering his position. She's impressive, he admitted after Amara left. Where did you find her? She found me, Min-jun said honestly. Smart. Maybe you're not slipping after all. Dae-young stood. I'll reconsider the Thailand deal. But I want her on the expansion team. Non-negotiable. After Dae-young left, Min-jun found Amara in the hallway, looking entirely too pleased with herself. There was no quarterly review meeting, was there? Nope. She grinned. But there was a suspicious man making territorial noises in your restaurant, and you looked like you were about 3 seconds from doing something violent and illegal. Thought I'd help. You just manipulated one of the most dangerous men in Seoul. I prefer strategically influenced. And you're welcome. Min-jun stepped closer, lowering his voice. That was reckless. He could've. What? Been charmed by my brilliant market analysis? Oh wait, he was. Amara tilted her head. You know what your problem is, Min-jun? You think danger always looks dangerous. But the really effective threats come wrapped in friendly questions and business proposals. She was right. She was also standing close enough that he could smell her perfume, something warm and spicy that made him want to forget every rule he'd ever set for himself. We need to talk, he said. About this. Us. The fact that I can't stop thinking about you and you work for me and I'm fairly certain you just saved a multi-million-dollar deal while wearing jeans. Amara's smile softened. Min-jun, I told you. I know. You don't date your boss. But what if, he couldn't believe he was about to suggest this, what if you didn't work for me? Are you firing me? No. I'm promoting you. Independent consultant. Same work, better pay, complete autonomy. You report directly to the board, not to me. That's a technicality. It's a loophole. And you said yourself, you like finding loopholes. Amara studied him for a long moment. One date. A real one. If it's terrible, we forget it happened and I go back to just being your brilliant consultant. And if it's not terrible? Her smile turned devastating. Then I guess we'll find out just how good you are at breaking your own rules, boss. Min-jun's phone buzzed. Jae-sung, the board approved her promotion. Also, everyone knows you're into her. Just FYI. Perfect. Just perfect. Friday night, Min-jun said. I'll pick you up at 7. I'll text you my address. Amara started walking away, then called back, oh, and Min-jun? Wear something other than black. You're not as intimidating as you think. She was absolutely going to destroy him. He couldn't wait. Comment below, Team Amara or Team Min-jun. And what do you think happens on their real first date? Drop your predictions. Backhand index pointing down. Min-jun owned 17 suits. 14 were black, 2 were charcoal gray, and 1 was navy blue that he'd bought 3 years ago and never worn because it felt too casual for a man in his position. He was currently standing in his walk-in closet at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, staring at that navy suit like it held the answers to the universe. Just wear the black, Jae-sung said from the doorway, eating what appeared to be Min-jun's expensive imported crackers. You always wear black. She said not to wear black. So wear the navy. What if navy is too? Oh my god, you're spiraling. Jae-sung looked genuinely delighted. Min-jun Kim, the man who once negotiated a arms deal without blinking, is having a fashion crisis over a woman. Get out of my house. This is amazing. I'm texting the group chat. I will literally kill you. But Jae-sung was already typing, and Min-jun's phone started buzzing with messages from his inner circle. All of them variations of shock, amusement, and demands for updates. Min-jun wore the navy suit. Amara's apartment was in Itaewon, a vibrant neighborhood that Min-jun rarely visited because it was too colorful, too loud, too alive. He pulled up at exactly 7 p.m. in his most understated car, a Mercedes that only cost as much as a small house, and texted her that he'd arrived. Her response came immediately, come up. 4th floor, apartment 412. I'm running late because my hair has opinions. Min-jun blinked at his phone. No woman had ever asked him to come up before a date. They always came down, usually early, usually dressed to impress. He climbed the stairs, the elevator was broken apparently, and knocked on 412. It's open. Amara's voice called. Min-jun opened the door and stepped into controlled chaos. The apartment was small but vibrant. Colorful throw pillows, plants everywhere, books stacked in creative towers, and art on every wall. Music played from a speaker, something with a smooth R&B beat. And standing in front of a full-length mirror in the living room was Amara, wearing a stunning emerald green dress and wrestling with her hair. I know, I'm late, she said without turning around. But this section right here is being absolutely disrespectful, and I refuse to go out looking like. She caught his reflection in the mirror and turned. Oh, you wore navy. You said not to wear black. I did. And you listened. Her smile was warm, genuine. That's actually really sweet. Min-jun felt something unfamiliar in his chest. Pride? Nervousness? Cardiac arrest? You look beautiful, he said, because she did. The green dress complemented her skin tone perfectly, and her natural hair was styled in twists that framed her face like a crown. Thank you. You clean up nice yourself, boss. Wait, we're not doing the boss thing tonight, are we? Definitely not. Good. Because I need you to help me with something, and it requires you to not be intimidating for 5 minutes. What do you need? Amara held up 2 pairs of earrings, one gold and dangly, one silver and subtle. Which ones? Min-jun had negotiated million-dollar deals, orchestrated complex operations across 3 countries, and once talked his way out of a police interrogation. He could do this. The gold, he said. They match your energy. Amara's eyes widened. That was smooth. Dangerously smooth. I have my moments. She put on the gold earrings, grabbed a small clutch, and declared herself ready. So where are we going? Somewhere expensive and intimidating where you can brood attractively. Actually, Min-jun said, I thought we'd do something different. A night market? Amara stared at the bustling Dong Demon night market like he'd just revealed he was actually an alien. You, Min-jun Kim, brought me to a street food market? You said I wasn't as intimidating as I think. I'm testing that theory. By eating tteokbokki standing up like a normal person? Is that a problem? Amara's laugh was pure delight. This is the best date I've been on in years, and we haven't even done anything yet. Come on. She grabbed his hand, just took it like it was the most natural thing in the world, and pulled him into the crowd. Min-jun, who didn't like crowds or spontaneity or germs, found himself not minding at all. They ate tteokbokki from a street vendor, and Amara made fun of him for eating it too carefully. It's street food, not surgery. They browsed vendor stalls, and she tried on ridiculous sunglasses and made him rate them. The pink ones make you look like you're about to drop a mixtape. She haggled with a vendor in broken Korean mixed with English and somehow got a better price than Min-jun ever had. You're enjoying this, she observed as they shared hotteok, the sweet pancake burning both their tongues. I am. Min-jun realized it was true. When was the last time he'd just existed somewhere without an agenda? Good. Because you were looking very serious in that navy suit, and I was worried I'd have to spend the whole night trying to make you smile. You make me smile. Yeah. Amara bumped his shoulder with hers. You make me forget you're technically a crime lord, which is either very good or very concerning. Probably concerning. Definitely concerning. She stopped walking, turning to face him. The market buzzed around them, but Min-jun only saw her. Can I ask you something serious? Of course. This thing you do, the dangerous stuff that we're both pretending you don't do, is it going to put me in danger? Because I can handle a lot, but I need to know what I'm walking into. Min-jun appreciated the directness. I would never let anything happen to you. That's not what I asked. The world I'm in is dangerous, he admitted. But I'm very good at keeping those worlds separate. My business associates don't know about my personal life. And I intend to keep it that way. So I'm your personal life now? I'd like you to be. Amara studied him for a long moment. Okay. But I have conditions. Name them. 1. You don't lie to me. Ever. I can handle the truth, even if it's ugly. Agreed. 2. The first time I feel like I'm in actual danger because of your work, you tell me. No protecting my feelings, no heroic keeping me in the dark nonsense. Agreed. 3. You have to let me win arguments at least 40% of the time. Min-jun laughed. Actually laughed out loud in the middle of a crowded market. That's not how arguments work. It is now. Those are my terms. You drive a hard bargain. I learned from the best. She stepped closer. So? Do we have a deal? Min-jun cupped her face with one hand, his thumb brushing her cheek. We have a deal. Good. Now kiss me before I change my mind about dating a mafia boss. He did. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, like they were both still figuring out if this was real. Then Amara made this small sound in the back of her throat, and Min-jun forgot about being careful. He pulled her closer, deepening the kiss, and she responded with equal intensity, her hands fisting in his navy suit jacket. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. "Wow," Amara whispered. "Yeah. So that's what happens when you stop being intimidating. Should I do it more often?" "Definitely." She grinned. "Come on, I saw a vendor selling those spiral potatoes, and I need to see if you can eat one without getting grease on that fancy suit." "I can be casual." "Prove it." He couldn't. He got grease on his suit within 30 seconds, and Amara laughed so hard she nearly choked on her own potato. Min-jun found he didn't care about the suit at all. They wandered the market for another 2 hours, talking about everything and nothing. Amara told him about growing up in Atlanta with 3 protective brothers who still video called her weekly to check on her life choices. Min-jun told her about his grandmother raising him after his parents died, and how she was the only person who still treated him like a regular person. "Is that why you let her set you up on a blind date?" Amara asked. "She's the only person I can't say no to. I like her already. She'll like you too. Fair warning, she'll probably try to feed you constantly and ask when we're getting married." Amara didn't miss a beat. "Tell her I need at least 3 dates before I start planning the wedding." Min-jun's heart did something complicated in his chest. At 11 p.m., he walked her back to her apartment. They stood outside her door, neither wanting the night to end. "I had fun," Amara said softly. "Real, actual fun. I forgot that was possible on dates." "Same." "So, Friday wasn't terrible." "Friday was perfect." "Does this mean we're doing this? For real?" Min-jun knew he should be cautious. He should consider all the risks, all the complications, all the ways this could go wrong. But when he looked at Amara, brilliant, bold, beautiful Amara who made him laugh and challenged him and saw past all his carefully constructed walls, caution felt like the worst option. "For real," he confirmed. Amara's smile could have powered the entire city. "Good. Because I'm already planning our second date, and it involves something you're going to hate." "What?" "Karaoke." "Absolutely not. You agreed to let me win 40% of arguments. I'm cashing in." "That's not." She kissed him, effectively ending the argument. When she pulled back, she was laughing. "Good night, Min-jun. Text me when you get home so I know you didn't get murdered by a rival gang or whatever." "That's not funny." "It's a little funny." She unlocked her door. "Oh, and Min-jun? Wear the navy suit more often. It's a good look on you." Then she was gone, leaving Min-jun standing in a hallway that suddenly felt too empty. His phone buzzed. "Jae-sung, how'd it go?" Min-jun typed back, "I'm in trouble." "Jae-sung, good trouble or bad trouble?" Min-jun looked at Amara's closed door, thought about her laugh, her kiss, the way she made the world feel bigger and brighter. "The best kind of trouble," he replied. He drove home with the windows down, music playing, something with a smooth R&B beat that reminded him of her apartment, and for the first time in years, Min-jun Kim felt like he might actually be living instead of just surviving. His phone buzzed again at a red light. This time it was Amara. "Made it home safe, crime boss?" He smiled at his phone like an idiot. "Safely home. Already planning how to get out of karaoke." "Amara, not happening. I've already picked our duet. It's Endless Love." "Min-jun, I will literally pay you to pick something else." "Amara, your money's no good here. See you Monday, boss. And thanks for tonight." It was perfect. The light turned green, but Min-jun sat there for an extra moment, rereading her message. Yeah. He was definitely in trouble. Drop a comment if you're Team Minam. And comment, what song should they actually sing at karaoke? Wrong answers only. Monday morning arrived with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Min-jun walked into his office building at 7 a.m. Earlier than usual because he definitely wasn't hoping to run into Amara in the lobby, that would be ridiculous, and immediately knew something was wrong. His entire executive team was waiting in the conference room, and they all looked grim. "We have a problem," his CFO said without preamble. Someone's been leaking information about our Thailand operations. 3 shipments have been intercepted in the past week. Min-jun's blood went cold. Intercepted by who? Police in 2 cases. A rival organization in the 3rd. Jae-sung pulled up surveillance footage on the screen. Someone on the inside is talking. This was bad. This was catastrophic. Information leaks meant investigations, which meant scrutiny, which meant his entire carefully balanced empire could come crashing down. Find them, Min-jun said quietly. I don't care what it takes. There's more, his chief of security added. Whoever it is has access to executive-level information. It's someone close. Min-jun's mind raced through the possibilities. His inner circle was small, loyal, tested over years. Unless. The new hires, he said. Anyone brought on in the past 6 months gets vetted again. Thoroughly. The room fell silent. Boss, Jae-sung said carefully, that includes the entire Southeast Asian expansion team. It included Amara. Min-jun was reviewing security files when his office door burst open. Amara stormed in, still in her coat, her expression thunderous. Did you seriously have security interrogate my entire team this morning? It's protocol. Protocol. She slammed her hands on his desk. Min-jun, you had armed men question my assistant about her family in Thailand. She's 23 and she was crying in the bathroom for an hour. There's been a breach. So you immediately suspect the foreign employees? The new people? The ones who don't look like everyone else in this company? The accusation hit like a physical blow. That's not what this is. Isn't it? Amara's voice shook with anger. Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like that. We have one security issue and suddenly everyone I hired is a suspect. Everyone is a suspect. Including people who've worked here for years. But you started with my team. She was right. He had. Not because of prejudice, at least he didn't think so, but because new employees were statistically more likely to be plants and he'd just proven her point. Amara. No. She held up a hand. You know what? I get it. You have a business to protect. But you could have warned me. You could have told me what was happening instead of letting me walk in to find my team terrified and feeling targeted. I'm trying to keep you safe. By investigating me? Because let's be real, Min-jun. I'm on that list too, aren't I? The silence was damning. Amara laughed, but there was no humor in it. Wow. Okay. So Friday night we're kissing in a night market, and Monday morning I'm a potential security threat. That's quite a weekend. You know it's not like that. Do I? Because right now, it feels exactly like that. She headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, none of my team is your leak. They're good people who work their asses off for a company that apparently sees them as suspicious by default. Figure out your priorities, Min-jun. I'll be at my desk, doing my actual job. She left, and Min-jun resisted the urge to put his fist through the wall. The rest of Monday was a disaster. The vetting turned up nothing on Amara's team. They were clean, just as she'd said. But the leak continued. Another shipment was compromised, this time in Malaysia, and Min-jun was running out of options. At 6 p.m., he found himself standing outside Amara's office. Through the glass, he could see her at her desk, working on her laptop with fierce concentration. She looked tired. Hurt. He knocked. It's open, she said without looking up. Min-jun entered, closing the door behind him. Can we talk? Depends. Am I being interrogated or is this personal? Personal. Always personal when it comes to you. Amara finally looked at him, and her expression softened slightly. You look terrible. I feel terrible. He sat across from her. You were right. I handled this morning poorly. I should have talked to you first, should have explained what was happening instead of just acting. You went into crisis mode. That's not an excuse. No, it's not. Amara leaned back in her chair. Look, I get that you have a complicated life. I signed up for that, remember? But Min-jun, you can't shut me out when things get hard. That's not how this works. I was trying to protect you. By making me feel like a suspect? By undermining my team's trust in me? She shook her head. Protection looks like honesty. Like partnership. Not like whatever this morning was. Min-jun knew she was right. He'd spent so many years keeping everyone at arm's length, managing threats alone, that he'd forgotten how to let someone in. I'm not good at this, he admitted. The relationship thing. The trust thing. Most of my life, vulnerability meant weakness, and weakness meant death. I'm not asking you to be weak. I'm asking you to trust me. I do trust you. Then prove it. What's really going on with this leak? Min-jun hesitated, then made a decision. He pulled out his phone and showed her the security reports. All of them. The intercepted shipments, the suspicious timing, the pattern that suggested someone with intimate knowledge of their operations. Amara studied the information with the same intense focus she brought to market analysis. After several minutes, she looked up. This isn't random, she said. Look at the timing. Every leak happens exactly 2 hours after an executive meeting. Not before, not during, after. Min-jun pulled up the meeting schedules. She was right. Someone's listening to the meetings, Amara continued, or someone in the meetings is reporting immediately after. But here's the thing, she pointed at the data. The Malaysia leak happened after a meeting that only 7 people attended. You, me, and 5 executives. Min-jun's blood ran cold. You think it's one of my executives? I think it's someone who's been with you long enough to be trusted. Long enough that you'd never suspect them. She met his eyes. Who has the most to gain from your organization looking weak right now? Min-jun's mind raced. Power struggles in his world were constant, but his inner circle had been stable for years. Unless someone had been playing a very long game. His phone buzzed. Jae-sung, found something. You need to see this. Now. Come with me, Min-jun said to Amara. Are you sure? You said you wanted partnership. This is me trusting you. They found Jae-sung in the security office, surrounded by computer screens. He looked shaken. I traced the communication logs, Jae-sung said. Someone's been using the company server to send encrypted messages to an external source. And boss, you're not going to like this. He pulled up the user ID. Min-jun's CFO. The man who'd worked for him for 8 years. The one who'd objected to every expansion, every risk, every change to the status quo. He's been working with the Busan crew, Jae-sung continued. They promised him a partnership position if he helped destabilize your operations. The plan was to make you look weak, then offer to buy you out at a fraction of what you're worth. Betrayal tasted like ash. Where is he now? Min-jun's voice was deadly calm. Left the building an hour ago. We're tracking his location. Min-jun turned to leave, but Amara caught his arm. What are you going to do? What I have to. Min-jun. He betrayed me. Put everyone in this organization at risk. There are consequences for that. I know. But whatever you're planning, don't do it alone. Let me help. This isn't your world, Amara. It is now. You just brought me into the security office and showed me classified information. So either I'm in this with you, or I'm not. Which is it? Min-jun looked at her, brilliant, bold Amara who refused to back down even when facing the ugliest parts of his life. He could protect her by pushing her away. Or he could trust her the way she was asking him to. There's a meeting happening tonight, he said. The Busan crew and my CFO, finalizing their arrangement. I'm going to interrupt it. And by interrupt, you mean? Make it very clear that betrayal has consequences. Amara took a breath. Okay. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Min-jun, they know about your operations. They probably know about me too. Hiding won't make me safer. She squeezed his hand. Besides, you promised you wouldn't lie to me or keep me in the dark. This is you keeping that promise. She was right. Again. You stay in the car, he said finally. With Jae-sung. Armed security. Non-negotiable. Deal. She smiled slightly. See? We're getting better at this compromise thing. We're getting better at you winning arguments. Same thing. Jae-sung cleared his throat. Hate to interrupt this moment, but the meeting's in 2 hours. We need to move. Min-jun looked at Amara one more time. Last chance to walk away from this. Not a chance, crime boss. You're stuck with me. Good, he said softly. Because I'm starting to think I can't do this without you. You absolutely can't. She grinned. Now let's go crash a meeting and ruin some traitor's day. But first, she pulled out her phone. I'm texting my brothers to tell them I'll be late for our video call. If I don't check in by 11 p.m., they have instructions to call the Korean embassy, Interpol, and probably the Avengers. You're joking. I'm really not. You haven't met my brothers. They make you look cuddly. Despite everything, the betrayal, the danger, the uncertainty, Min-jun smiled. 2 hours later, they pulled up to a warehouse in Gangnam. Min-jun's CFO's car was already there, along with 3 others that Jae-sung identified as belonging to high-ranking Busan crew members. Remember, Min-jun said to Amara, you stay in the car. I remember. Go be intimidating. I'll be here planning our karaoke duet. He kissed her, quick and fierce, then headed into the warehouse with his security team. Inside, his CFO was indeed meeting with the Busan crew, counting what looked like a very substantial bribe. He looked up as Min-jun entered, and all the color drained from his face. Min-jun, I can explain. No need, Min-jun said calmly. Jae-sung already explained everything. The leaks, the bribes, the attempted takeover. Very thorough work, really. Almost impressive. The Busan crew leader stood. This doesn't have to get ugly, Kim. We can make a deal. I don't make deals with people who betray me. What happened next happened fast. The Busan crew reached for weapons. Min-jun's security was faster. Within seconds, the situation was contained. Guns confiscated, everyone on their knees. Here's what's going to happen, Min-jun said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. You're going to return every piece of information you stole. You're going to call off whatever operations you have planned. And you're going to leave Seoul. Tonight. And if we refuse? The Busan leader challenged. Min-jun smiled, and it wasn't pleasant. Then I stopped being civilized about this. Outside, Amara was absolutely not staying in the car. She'd lasted about 10 minutes before her anxiety got the better of her. She couldn't hear anything through the warehouse walls, couldn't see what was happening, and her imagination was creating increasingly terrible scenarios. I'm just going to look through the window, she told Jae-sung. Boss said to stay in the car. I'm not going in. Just looking. She crept to the warehouse's side window and peered through the grimy glass. Min-jun was standing in the center of the space, completely in control, his voice too low to hear but his body language radiating authority. He looked dangerous, powerful, and completely in his element. It should have scared her. Instead, she found it oddly attractive, which was probably something she should examine in therapy. Then she saw movement in the shadows. Someone Min-jun's security had missed, creeping toward him with a weapon raised. Amara didn't think. She grabbed the nearest object, a metal pipe leaning against the warehouse wall, burst through the door and yelled, "Duck!" Min-jun dropped instantly. The pipe flew through the air with surprising accuracy, hitting the hidden attacker's arm and sending his gun skittering across the floor. The warehouse froze. Min-jun slowly stood, staring at Amara with an expression somewhere between shock and fury and something that looked suspiciously like pride. I told you to stay in the car, he said. You're welcome for saving your life, she shot back. That was, you could have been. He crossed the space in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms, his heart racing against her cheek. Don't ever do that again. Can't promise that. But I can promise I have terrible aim, so next time I'll work on my throwing skills. Despite everything, Min-jun laughed. The Busan crew was escorted out. Min-jun's former CFO was handed over to associates who would ensure he never worked in Seoul again. The warehouse was cleared, and Min-jun was left standing with Amara in the empty space, still holding her close. "You threw a pipe at an armed man," he said. "In my defense, I threw it near him. The fact that it actually hit him was pure luck." "You're insane. You're dating me, so what does that say about you?" "That I have terrible judgment and excellent taste." Amara pulled back to look at him. "Are you okay? Really?" "I am now." He cupped her face. "Thank you for having my back, even when I told you not to." That's what partners do, right? Have each other's backs, occasionally disobey direct orders, throw improvised weapons at bad guys. That's not typically how partnerships work. Ours does. Min-jun kissed her properly this time, slow and deep, pouring everything he couldn't say into it. When they broke apart, Amara was smiling. "So," she said, "about that karaoke date. After the night we just had, I'll sing whatever you want." Dangerous words, Min-jun Kim. "I'm holding you to that." As they walked back to the car, hand in hand, Min-jun realized something. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like he was handling everything alone. He had a partner. A real one. And she'd literally thrown a pipe at danger for him. He was definitely keeping her. To be continued. Wait, did that just happen? Drop a fire if you need part 2 right now. My mom said this story wouldn't hit 10K views and 1K subscribers, but look at you proving her wrong. If you want to see what Min-jun's dead grandfather wants with Amara, and whether their grandmothers are about to team up or throw down, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell. Comment below, Team Grandma or Team Grandfather. And what do you think happens next? Part 2 is coming if we hit the goal. Let's prove everyone wrong together.